Welcome to the Neighborhood Law Center. I'm your host, Melvin Burruss. And our guests today are Karleen, help me out, Kovalcik, and Marilyn Campbell, okay? Yes. Today we're going to be talking about the Louisa County Historical Society. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask our guests to give us a little background about themselves so our audience can know them a little better. So, Karleen, could you start off?
Sure, yes. Thank you for having us today. We're so excited to be here. My name's Karleen. My career is a public historian in nonprofit administration. So my educational background is I have an undergraduate degree in history from the University of Mary Washington, and then I went on for my master's in public history with a certificate in cultural resource management from West Virginia University. I've worked for many different historical societies and museums, and so in my role as executive director, I oversee all of our programs and operations.
So you're the executive director. So it looks like Louisa County's in good hands. Okay. Marilyn, can you give us a little background on yourself?
Yes, I graduated in, several years ago.
Well, you don't want to talk about it. Don't give away any secrets now.
Virginia Commonwealth University, I received my mass communications degree. And from there, I sort of had a minor in African American Studies. And from there, I stayed in Richmond. But originally, I was from Alta Vista, Virginia, small town, similar to Louisa, and came to Richmond, families in D.C., but I settled in Richmond because I like that environment. And I've been involved with many of the adult career learning courses and actually teaching a few. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So the programs that they have going on in Black history and heritage is in good hands then?
I think so.
Okay. So let's get started. Tell us about the mission and the purpose of the Louisa County Historical Society.
Yes. So the Louisa County Historical Society is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1966, and our mission is to bring to light, preserve, and share the history of Louisa County. The vision that guides this work is that we want to enlighten the present by illuminating the past in order to inspire the future. And some of the work that we do to share the diverse stories of past and present Louisans include our museum exhibitions, our public programs, publications, research services, digital resources, and care for a growing collection of records and artifacts. We do operate a community history museum. It's called the Sargent Museum of Louisa County History, and that is located in the town of Louisa. It is open to small groups, but all of our current programming is virtual.
But you also do geology, don't you?
Yes, that's part of our research services. It's one of our most active branches.
Don't leave that out because that's one of the biggest things that's going on now. People want to know the history. Okay. So let's talk to Marilyn about some of the things that you're doing and things that's happening at the society.
I like to say that in my coming on board in this past fall, we have put together a team that's working, I really feel. There's a council, Community Advisory Council of the Historical Society. And there are people in the community that have come together to help with three main projects. These are projects that they deem would be a good idea for the Louisa County area. Project number one, Freedom of Choice Remembrance Project. I'm going to just first say them. And then there's the Oral History Project and the School Curriculum Project.
So tell us about the Freedom of Choice Project.
Yes, the Freedom of Choice Project is really a developing collection of the first accounts of those 13 students that integrated Louisa County High School. It's centered around their memories, their history, their stories they want to voice. But not only are those students involved, but their fellow classmates and the teachers and the county leaders that are involved. So interviews will be conducted, and they have been. In February, there have been quite a few interviews done, but the main purpose is to capture that memory, to be able to share that with our future generation.
Okay, let's remind the audience that in 1970, Louisa County was desegregated, and they were, and therefore, these 13 young people were the first ones to enter Louisa County High School.
Yes.
And now you're doing this big program around that. That's great.
Let me just back up a little bit with that. Now, when the federal government actually asked that schools become desegregated, it stemmed from this, the school board, Brown versus Board of Education. Well, many of the cities, the counties, and states did not immediately desegregate.
That was that deliberate speed, which
Yes.
wasn't
And so
very
the
fast.
deliberate speed was about 10 years later for
Okay.
Louisa. But the freedom of choice plan was one that gave students a choice to go to whatever school they chose to.
Okay.
But the only thing about that is that in that call for choose your school, blacks did integrate white schools, but not many whites integrated the black schools. They went to private schools. So it still was an imbalance. So then it was a final call for desegregating all the schools, and that ended up being around 1970.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Another, the Oral History Project, is a community-wide approach to capturing memories from the aging community, but with the emphasis of capturing the African American presence, mainly because the Historical Society has had projects in the past with African Americans highlighting the Indian and elders and various people in the 50s and 60s time range. But this is an African American history project in which we want to do a better job at providing the presence of African Americans in the archives and giving them a chance to voice it, share it, and bring history into context.
Well, that's very important because when you're my age and you grew up with the elders, or
Yes.
the old folks, they didn't tell us much. They didn't tell you about your cousins or what happened there. Everybody was so secret. And so this is a good thing that we can leave for our children and grandchildren, that they'll know something about at least the history around this period that they lived through. Because when I was asking my grandmother and aunt, what was happening at this time? Well, you don't need to know. You know, it was a bad time for them, and maybe it's because they wanted to shelter us. But we need to know our history, and that's what's so great about the geology, is that people are now learning about their history and their ancestors.
Well, I do want to speak about the school curriculum project.
Okay.
Speaking of youth, we actually have an intern, a student liaison. Her name is Gabby Whitfield, and she is working with the society and others on the team in order to garner the research, interview some of the stakeholders, the teachers, the parents, that homeschooling network. These are part of the stakeholders and the county leaders that we want to hear from. So Gabby has a role in providing, developing resource information, researching, going along with her schoolwork. But I think she finds great joy in it, because to have a youth involved in this project is very inspirational to us. You know, the energy that's there and the questions that come back about some of the past. So it is something that is really, this year, based on doing the research and developing the resources in order to develop a program that will allow African American history, local African American history taught in local schools. So this is the Central Virginia area, and it has so many counties. This history in this Central Virginia area is very rich. And a lot of times, many of the people that have become notable, they've gone elsewhere in order to do that. Mm-hmm. And we need to bring that history home. You know, it could be in areas of Black invention, actual people that have done major community service, and it's brought to a national level, but it's not here locally. And right. These are the kinds of things that will be developed this year with the goal of it coming about in future years. Yeah. Recommendations.
And that's good, because if we don't know our history,
right,
we'll make the same mistakes we've been making before. And it's good to know why or what happened in our history, mm-hmm, because it affects everything that we're doing today. We're at that halfway point. Things are going pretty quickly, thank you. Uh-huh. And I just like to say this is Welcome to the Neighborhood Law Center, if you're just tuning in. I'm your host, Melvin Burruss, and our guests are Karleen Kovalcik and Marilyn Campbell. We're talking about Louisa County Historical Society. Okay, so go ahead. You had some other things you want to tell us?
Oh, sure. Well, you know, it's important that the community is involved with what we're doing. I think at an earlier point it may have been that we made note that we received a grant in order to enact this African American history program. Mm-hmm. It takes volunteers.
Okay, and how do you get your volunteers?
So we currently have some volunteers that were existing with the Historical Society, but because this is an expansion program, we're doing more than we used to. We are recruiting currently for new volunteers. So if somebody would like to learn more about these projects and how they can get involved, my first recommendation would be to visit our YouTube channel. And there is a Zoom presentation that Marilyn and I gave that outlines each of the projects, the work that we're doing this year, and what the volunteer needs are. I'd also recommend to, if you want to kind of stay in loop with these projects as they develop, to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Louisa History, and to sign up for our monthly e-newsletter, and you can do that on the homepage of our website, louisahistory.org. So we put calls out for specific volunteers through those channels.
Okay, and we want to make sure that it's on the on our program so that people can call you or email you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Can anyone participate as an interviewee or a volunteer?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that, because at present we are looking for volunteers that are able to offer their service in various ways. And we could use someone to interview. We also would like to have skill sets of editing film or video clips, transcribing the audio tapes, indexing the tapes. We also may need services with some of the groundwork. There are things that may involve research, and we look forward to those that have an educational background and may want to get involved with the school curriculum project. You can also donate memorabilia artifacts that deal with the graduation time period of the 60s would be great. And we can't really identify all things. As Karleen mentioned, the social media effort would give you an opportunity to come by the museum and talk to us. If it's something in particular you want sent, we can, send you a listing of things. But we really are looking forward to people working hands-on, interviewing, indexing, and you can do these things remotely. You don't have to come physically to someone. We narrow of a time period where we can interview by Zoom. We suggest too that if you have a family member that is from the Louisa area and you would like to interview that family or your family, you can become the family interviewer.
Okay.
And interview all
Family
your
historian.
relatives.
I
Yes.
love that because it basically says, tell me your story about the period in the 60s that you were coming up and what affected you, and how, now that you look back on it, what are your feelings about that?
Absolutely.
And also the second one, the one about the young people who are, where you're trying to get into the school system, Louisa County School District, that kids will start learning why things are happening now and what caused that. We don't know.
Absolutely.
You know, you see a lot of things happening today, but they don't know why that's the cause of that and the roots of it. And that's why we need to keep doing this. And that third one about the
Well,
13
yes.
who integrated Louisa County High School. I like to hear their stories.
Freedom
and
of choice
documentation,
plan.
freedom of choice. That they
Remembrance.
had, what they went through. Just like the Arkansas High School, the visionaries who started this, okay?
Absolutely.
When you get all this together, what kind of package are we gonna have? What kind of documents are we gonna see?
I'm glad you asked that. So one of the foundations of this expanded program, and it was a grant from the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation that provided the seed money to form this Community Advisory Council and select these projects. But one of the foundations is to foster a participatory process. So we constantly are looking for input from community members, from our council, and it's a shared vision that we are forming every step of the way. So the council selected these 3 projects, and then at the end of the first year of the program, which will be this fall, the council, the project team members, the community will have a discussion about how do we package these up to reach a wider audience. Of course, we already have a few ideas, but we haven't settled on the final product. Documentaries lend themselves really well to oral history projects, publications, traveling exhibits. So this year's a lot about gathering research, doing oral
Resources,
histories,
yes.
researching best practices, and then the continuation of this work will be how do we package this? How do we put context to it? Just as you were saying, how do we make people tie one specific thing that happened into the grander, wider picture? So that will be the work of coming years.
Yeah, we have some ideas because Louisa provides a heavy church population, church gathering. I've noticed, I just looked at the list and I was just surprised. You know, when I think of Louisa County, it's small in my mind because I think of Alta Vista, how it was spread out. But it is so rich. It has the foundation for that strong network to continue the work, you know, by way of the business community as well. It doesn't take many to do a good thing. If it's good, it's rolling and it's moving, and it will continue.
Last month you did a Black History, virtual Black History. Tell us a little about that.
Yes. So we try to host Black History Month programs in February. Last year we did a special lecture at the First Baptist Church, and that recording is on our YouTube channel. This past February we did a whole series of virtual programs. Those are also available on our YouTube channel. They highlight some local history, some important people and events that happened. And we are excited that we recently entered a partnership with the local chapter of the NAACP. They would like to do some virtual programming, and so we're going to sort of assist them with maybe hosting some of those lecture programs. And so we want to continue Black History Month all year round by continuing to highlight some important figures.
Okay.
Well, the interesting thing about working with the Black History event this year is that some local other historical societies were involved with that. They co-sponsored. Topics were on genealogy. You know, you had the Orange County Historical Society, the Albemarle, Charlottesville Society, and was there another one?
Those were the two. And so the topics that were covered were African American genealogy research, a Black Century farm in Orange County, the UVA Descendants Project, some of the Louisa County people that were rented out to the university, and then the talk that we provided on these projects that provides more details about how people can get involved.
Now you're saying that you're collecting an enormous amount of material. Tell us about the digitalization of that material and what you're doing with it.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you asked that. So the Historical Society has two major initiatives going on. One is the African American History Program, and the other one, which ties into it, is our digitization program. And so that is a comprehensive digitization of the original materials in our collections, with the end goal of making these available to the public online with a website that has a search function that will be way more user-friendly than our current process. And this enables people to research their family history. It enables teachers to find local examples for the history that they're trying to teach in their classrooms. There's really endless potential. And I'm talking about, we have over 20,000 records in our archives and over 1,000 artifacts, and a growing number. We have hundreds of oral histories. And
Now, do people can they access it through the website, or do they have to come to the society office?
so currently they have to come here. And so that's why we are seeking funding and donations. And we are about a third of the way there to implement this big digitization project. So currently somebody has to look at our Excel spreadsheet catalog. They have to search for what they want. They have to contact us. They have to either wait for us to make copies of it or come in person. So it's a very cumbersome process at present. And so we're really looking forward to the day when everything is available online.
Now, when you're talking about the YouTube, what do someone type in? What do they type in?
Louisa County Historical Society.
Louisa County Historical Society.
And then make sure you subscribe, because then anytime that we do a new program, you'll be alerted.
Okay, you want to subscribe also. Okay, looks like I guess I was running my mouth too much because we're almost through. So I want you to kind of sum up what you want to leave with the audience and any telephone numbers or websites that you may want to leave, or any requests that you may have.
I think you really need to know that there is an opportunity here with the Louisa County Historical Society to get involved. If it's that you just have weekend time to work on projects, some similar work, indexing of tapes, of audio tapes. If you're gifted with website building, we need those kinds of services. If you are a teacher and love to work on curriculum assignments and possibilities of things, we need that kind of help, assistance. We welcome you mainly because you can work remotely from home. We do need interviewers, and we would like for someone to say, I know my family grew up here and I would love to take the lead and become that interviewer for my family. So, and we will train you. We don't have a problem with that. It really becomes, it empowers the community when people get involved. We can do this part, another can do another part. All those parts can work together to help us. So basically, those things I mentioned are on our wish list. And I just want you to know that there are 3 projects or history campaign we would like for you to tell about it. We want to capture more of the African American presence. And there is an Asian community, and we really would love to capture those memories so they can be for our future generations. The Freedom of Choice Project, it's Freedom of Choice Remembrance Project. And 13 students were the first to integrate the White High School. They have stories. We also have interviews from the parents, teachers, stakeholders, the other people that are involved, some of the county leaders. They are on our audio tapes as well. And the third project, the curriculum, school curriculum. This is a future goal. We're doing the research now. in order for the resources, the reference material, the surveying of county leaders, teachers, parents, those that are homeschooler network. We would love for you to give that input. And I mean, this is something that our student intern is working on. So we're gathering that to make it such that it comes to fruition in upcoming years.
And I'll just make the pitch as the executive director that if you don't have time, you can donate your money on the support page of our website. If you go to louisahistory.org, visit our support page, there's a button dedicated to the African American History Program and the Archive Digitization Program. So if you're in a position to make a donation, we appreciate it.
And that it's a wrap now. So again, thank you for being here.
Yes.
This was, and again, I'm going to let everybody know. This was the Neighborhood Law Center. Our guest was Karleen Kovalcik and Marilyn Campbell of the Louisa County Historical Society. And as you know, I'm Melvin Burruss. This is the Neighborhood Law Center. If you want to see other archives, as Karleen was saying, go to neighborhoodlawcenter.com, or you can go to the YouTube and type in Neighborhood Law Center. So until next week, peace and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Mm-hmm.